Hey guys, welcome to a new video. So in this one, I'm just going to talk to you about my top 3 income ETFs, the best performing ETFs in the high yield space in my portfolio of 2025 or since inception, since I've held them. I do have a few growth funds in this account, in this portfolio, which I'll just lightly touch on, but mainly I'm obviously going to focus on my high yield ETFs and how they've been performing. I'm using Snowball Analytics. It's a pretty good platform, and I'll talk to you a bit about it. But before we get into it, of course, I do have the disclaimer. This video is not financial advice. This channel is purely based on my thoughts as I navigate my own personal investment journey. Please, please, please always do your own research. Okay, let's get into it. So here we have Snowball Analytics. I've been using this for a couple of months now. It's actually really good. It's really good for your dividends, your distributions, planning them, calendars, showing you all sorts of performance metrics, what's doing well, what's not doing well. It's got a lot of information in here. So if you're interested, I would recommend probably checking it out. I think they do a free version. It's not affiliated to it or anything. But I've just been using it for a couple of months and I find it pretty useful for certain things, especially for this. So this is all my holdings in this portfolio, which I've had for about 18 months, probably longer than that, maybe 20 months, almost 2 years now. And probably about 18 months. So this is in terms of total profit. So you'll see my best fund over the last 18 months is Rocket Lab. You'll see here it's up 205% in, well, since I've had it. I probably didn't buy into it 18 months ago, but since whenever I had it, it's done absolutely brilliantly. So that is a growth fund. Now, I do hedge my high yield, my income ETFs with growth stocks and growth ETFs because I want to make sure that my capital is growing. So I have growth funds, growth ETFs that kind of build capital, build growth. And then my high yield, which I just try and maintain the NAV. I try and protect the capital, maintain that NAV. But of course, as we know, a lot of the time with these high yield ETFs, they're very risky and there is a lot of NAV decay and NAV erosion. So if that NAV decay, NAV erosion happens in the high yield ETF portion of the portfolio, then my growth portfolio kind of offsets it. So I'm not losing a lot in terms of overall capital or overall total net worth, total capital in my portfolio, so to speak. So I kind of use it as a hedge, but also I'm trying to grow capital as well. So that's what I do. I just keep it in the same one. So second one is Moo. That's AI and tech. Third one, Palantir. Obviously, Palantir has been absolutely soaring over the last year or two, up 189%, up over 1,000. My initial position in that wasn't too big. But then we come down to number 4, CVNY. And this is my first high-yielding ETF. It is up 112%. And what is it? Surprise, surprise. It's YIELDMAX. All those YIELDMAX bashers, I'm telling you, if you buy right, you can do pretty well with YIELDMAX, but you've got to have the right strategy. So let's go into this one, CVNY. Now, the reason that this is probably my best performer is because I only bought into it once, when we were in absolute extreme fear back on the 5th of April, 2025. So that's when the markets were just down. There was so much fear because of tariffs. The Nasdaq was down 20%. I think the S&P was down almost 20%, and the markets were absolutely crashing at that time. And people were like, "We're in a recession. We're going to be, just everything is going bad." Basically, there was a lot of fear in the market, and so at that time, I was deploying quite a lot of cash because if you've watched a few of my videos, then you'll know that I like to buy in extreme fear, and especially for the high yield ETFs, I think it makes such a big difference to buy when there's a lot of fear in the market and to buy on the big dips, the big corrections. I think it's so important so that even with a YIELDMAX fund like this, look at how much I bought it at $27.50 a share. It went up to $46.40, $43 in a couple of months. Look at that recovery. And that's with YIELDMAX, whose ETFs don't even capture all the upside. They only capture about 60 or 70% of the upside. So that is brilliant performance. So it recovered, and then it's just been printing cash for me since then. So what does that look like in terms of figures? Well, my cost basis, it was a one-time hit. I invested $1,700 into it. I've now received $1,200 in dividends, and I've got a capital gain as well. So I'm up in share price, I'm up in dividends, and so my total profit is $2,000 of profit from an initial investment of $1,780. So I'm up 112% just from this one YIELDMAX ETF. So YIELDMAX can work, and I just think that you have to be really careful with what you're buying and when you're buying it. I've talked about it before, but for me, it's not timing the market beats timing the market. I think it's the other way around. I think you need to try and time the market. I think you need to hold cash for periods of real uncertainty, real fear, and a crash. If there's going to be a crash in the next 12 months, you want to hold a lot of cash to buy into the dips for these high yield ETFs, especially the single stock ETFs. In my opinion, if you're DCAing into the Nasdaq 100 high yield ETFs like QQQI or TDAC, or you're DCAing into Chippy CHPY from YIELDMAX, that's great. That should be like, just keep doing that. But I think for the single stocks and the real risky ones, you need to buy on big dips, big corrections, and that's what's going to allow you to really make a decent amount of money off these funds. So that is the first one, CVNY, and then we come down. We got more growth stuff, RCAT, RR, nukes. This is robotics. This is like drone defense kind of stuff. And then we get down to PLTY. How is PLTY my second best? Well, Palantir obviously had a great year last year. Now, I bought into it quite a lot. Can you remember what PLTY? It went up to $94 at the start of last year. So it launched, I think, in January or whenever it was. And PLTY was at $94 in February. That is just amazing. Well done if you sold a portion of your PLTY shares then. But then it dipped, and I started buying into this dip, and then I was buying. You can see I was buying at $53 there. And then I was just buying all the dips. And you can see I'm just buying dips here as much as I can because I believe in Palantir as an underlying stock. I think it will still do well. I think it will do well in 2026. But then here you can see the yellow dots. Now, what do these yellow dots mean? They mean selling. So I started to sell. I started to sell when it was going up. And the reason I was selling is because I was rotating into PLTW. My strategy changed from only holding YIELDMAX ETFs, which was the majority of my portfolio, and rotating them, into the ROUNDHILL weekly pay ETFs. And why did I do that? Because I really like the uncapped upside of the weekly pay ETFs from ROUNDHILL, because I like to buy. I'm a very active investor. I like to buy in dips. And so if it dips here and I'm buying here in this big dip, if I can get uncapped upside, then I'm going to get a much, much higher growth than this. This is 60-70%. And as we know, ROUNDHILL is leveraged 120%. You're going to be capturing 1.2 times the underlying if it goes up. Obviously, if it goes down, there's risk involved. It goes down harder than YIELDMAX. It goes down 120%. So 12% if the underlying goes down 10%. But this was my strategy. I was rotating out of PLTY and selling these shares and buying into PLTW. This wasn't a good sell. What was that? $50. So it's still better than what it is now. But yeah, you can see that I was just selling with these yellow dots and I was rotating into PLTW. But in terms of figures, what does that look like? Again, this is a YIELDMAX ETF, by the way, and my total profit is $6,700, and the share price is not that good at the moment. What is the share price? Oh, it's around $50, is it, at the moment? So it's not terrible, but it's not great. I mean, look at what it was before. We're definitely down. The market's down a bit at the moment. But my total profit is still $6,700. Why? Because I've been in the market quite a long time. I've been in this fund quite a long time. I've bought the dips, and I've received a lot of dividends. Over $8,000 of dividends from PLTY. I'm down a bit in terms of capital gain. My average share price is, you'll see it here, average cost per share is $61.60, and we're now at $50 something. So I'm down 18.1%. So I'm down $920 in terms of NAV, in terms of share price. But because I've had over $8,000 in distributions, I'm now total return of 33%, which is $6,700. Now, that's pretty good for a YIELDMAX ETF. It's very good, in fact. And if we weren't so low at the moment, and you'll see this from the other ones, this is probably not the best time to be recording this video because we're actually down quite a lot at the moment on a lot of these funds. But you can see that there's still profit to be made if you buy the dips and you hold it for a serious amount of time, and you don't treat it as like you can swing trade them. Like you could have got in here and then sold at the top. Who am I to tell you not to do that? That would have been a great swing trade. But I think it's better to just buy the dips and hold for a long term with funds and underlyings you have conviction in. So anyway, that's PLTY. That's been doing very well. And I still hold it. I've got some in PLTW and some in PLTY. And then we go down, we got IVES, this is AI, this is robotics. These are all kind of growth funds and growth ETFs. And then third, we've got AMDW. This is one of my more recent ones because obviously the Roundhill weekly pay portfolio kind of came out later than the YIELDMAX one did. But if we look at AMDW, it's actually down quite a bit at the moment. So you'll see it's down way more than it was. We're down at $46 a share roughly. But I was buying back in August, kind of similar time to when it came out. And then I was buying the dips. You can see quite a few buys around here in this dip, around $44, $45 a share. So that's what's giving me that pretty good under $50 average cost price. And I continued to buy in this kind of dipping, this buy zone here. And then it ramped up. It went up big time. I think there was some news of a partnership with some other AI. It's probably NVIDIA. I don't know what it was. But it ramped up and we're in this nice zone here. And we were just collecting distributions whilst in capital gain territory as well. This was a really nice time. But then, of course, it dipped again. And then November, December, it dipped and it's been dipping again. So I bought the dip up here, but I'm trying to build up cash reserve at the moment. So I'm not really buying too many dips at the moment because I'm trying to build up a cash reserve in case we have another big crash like we did in April with all the tariff stuff going on. So anyway, what does that look like? I've been buying the dips. Now my capital gain, I'm down 4.8%. It's not too bad, but my dividends received since then is 1,500. So I've got a total profit of 1,250, 19.4%. So pretty good. So I just wanted to show that so that's one Roundhill one and two YIELDMAX ones. And I just wanted to show that you can make money and be in positive total return from a lot of these ETFs. I do think you have to buy at certain times. I think you have to really be quite active, research the underlying. I think you need to understand when it's dipping, when it's correcting, but there's still opportunity for that underlying to go up. And I've talked about this in a lot of my videos before, but I think that's really critical for definitely your single stock ETFs like CVNY, PLTY, AMDW, NVDW, all of those guys. I think you need to buy when there is dips, when there's corrections, when there's fear in the market, and that's going to serve you well in the long term. So anyway, I just thought I would share that with you because I thought it was quite interesting to show that what you can achieve in 2026. And I think we're actually not at a great place in the market right now. If I had, shown you this, no, not that one, but like say AMDW, like back here, I would have been in so much profit. It would have been like crazy profit. We're not in a great time at the moment, but I'm still profitable with a lot of these ETFs. And I think that's just important, is to make sure that you kind of stick to your strategy. You buy when there's fear, like kind of seem now is a pretty good time to buy, in my opinion, and then to just hold strong and wait for the good times to roll. And that's essentially what I'll be doing in 2026. I've got some new strategies, some new theories that I'm going to share with you pretty soon. So keep an eye out for them. But I just thought this would maybe provide some value, some insight into my portfolio and how it's been doing over the last year or so. Anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.